In the quiet town of Silver Grove, where pine trees brushed against telephone wires and everyone knew the name of the man fixing their mailbox, lived a man named Daniel Hayes, 36. He wasn't flashy, not particularly rich, and certainly not the kind of man who stood out, except when he smiled. Then, something about his weathered face and soft hazel eyes made people pause. Daniel was a single father to Brooke. Lily, a bright-eyed 7-year-old who wore rain boots even on sunny days and believed her dad could fix anything, especially broken hearts. Their days followed a quiet rhythm. Daniel worked as a freelance mechanic out of an old barn behind their weathered farmhouse, while Lily spent her afternoons in a tire swing or scribbling stories on napkins. He didn't have much, but their life was warm and safe, a stitched quilt of routine and resilience. That morning, rain had softened the roads and the clouds hung low. Daniel was elbow-deep in an old pickup when he heard the stutter of a motorcycle engine outside the barn. It wasn't the usual growl of a Harley or the clean hum of a commuter bike. This one sounded troubled. He wiped his hands on a rag and stepped outside. Parked awkwardly at the edge of the gravel path was a sleek, matte black Ducati, clearly expensive, definitely not from around here. The rider pulled off her helmet and shook loose a curtain of damp, dark hair. She had the kind of face magazines called elegant. Sharp cheekbones, arched brows, lips that held tension like a secret. Her name was Emily Carter, 34. To the world, she was the elusive tech billionaire behind Carter Systems. But here, in a damp leather jacket and scuffed boots, she was just a woman stranded in a town she hadn't planned on visiting. Daniel didn't recognize her, nor did he expect the way his heartbeat stuttered the moment their eyes met. "Engine trouble?" he asked, nodding toward the bike. She looked down at it like it had betrayed her. "It died half a mile back, coasted in." Her voice was calm but tight. She wasn't used to asking for help. Daniel crouched beside the Ducati, running a practiced hand along the engine casing. "You're lucky you made it here. Fuel injectors clogged and your rear brakes worn thin. Could have gone sideways on you." Emily watched him work, how his fingers moved with quiet confidence, how he didn't ask who she was or where she came from. It was oddly refreshing. "I can get her running by tomorrow morning," Daniel said, standing up and wiping his hands. "You passing through?" Emily hesitated. "Something like that." The rain picked up again, slow and steady. Lily appeared at the barn door in her polka-dot raincoat, holding a mug of hot chocolate with both hands. Her gaze moved from Emily to her father, curious and wide. "Hi," she said softly. "Do you want to come inside? We have marshmallows." Emily blinked, caught off guard by the girl's warmth. She nodded. "Sure." Inside the barn, the old space smelled of motor oil and cinnamon. Daniel had been heating up cider for Lily on a rusted stove. They sat awkwardly for a moment, the three of them, as thunder rumbled in the distance. Emily hadn't meant to stay long, but something about the way Lily leaned into her father's shoulder and the way Daniel handed her a mug without asking too many questions made the air feel different, less heavy. No one asked her what board she chaired or which luxury jet she flew in on. No one stared at her like a symbol. Here, in this oil-stained barn with flickering string lights, Emily felt invisible in the best way. And that, more than money or comfort, was what she'd been aching for. Daniel didn't ask why she looked like she hadn't slept in days. He didn't press when her hands trembled slightly holding the mug. He simply said, "You're welcome to stay in the guest room across the hall. Place ain't fancy, but it's warm and dry." She wanted to decline, to move on, to stay guarded. But instead, Emily Carter, billionaire CEO, guarded heart, nodded and whispered, "Thank you." That night, as rain tapped gently against the window panes and Lily slept with a stuffed rabbit in the crook of her arm, Emily stood in the guest room staring at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked tired, real, a little broken, and, strangely, relieved. She had come searching for something she couldn't name, and in a place that smelled of engine grease and hot chocolate, she might have just found its first trace. Morning crept into Silver Grove slowly, painting the sky in soft pastels. Mist clung to the edges of the fields like a blanket reluctant to let go. Inside the farmhouse, Daniel moved through the kitchen in quiet rhythm, eggs sizzling, toast popping, coffee brewing. Emily stood by the window in the guest room, watching the fog lift from the hills. She hadn't slept much. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, unread messages piling up, her assistant, her board, reporters looking for a quote. She turned it over, face down. For once, she didn't want to be reachable. Downstairs, Lily sat at the table coloring a picture of a motorcycle with wings. Daniel placed a plate in front of her, then glanced toward the stairs. "She's still here?" Lily asked softly, curious but not intrusive. Daniel nodded. "Probably tired." Emily appeared in the doorway moments later, dressed in jeans and a faded navy sweater that Lily had offered her last night. Far too big, sleeves nearly to her fingertips. It smelled like lavender and wood smoke. "Hope you're hungry," Daniel said, gesturing to a seat. She sat cautiously, folding into the domestic scene like someone afraid of breaking it. "It smells amazing," Lily beamed. "Daddy makes the best eggs. He taught me how to crack them without getting shells in." Emily smiled, something in her shoulders softening. She hadn't shared a meal without an agenda in years. They ate quietly, comfortably. Emily asked about the tire swing outside, and Lily proudly explained how she named it Captain Swirly. Daniel told a story about a chicken that chased the mailman for 2 weeks. Emily laughed, really laughed, and it startled her. After breakfast, Daniel walked her out to the barn where the Ducati stood gleaming, its engine purring quietly now. "Should be good as new," he said, wiping his hands. "I replaced the injector, flushed the lines. You got some serious miles on this thing." Emily ran her fingers along the handlebars. "I've been driving with no map, just riding." He nodded. "Sometimes you don't need a destination to know you're going the right way." There was a pause between them, heavy, meaningful. "I'll pay you," she said, reaching into her jacket. Daniel held up a hand. "Don't worry about it." She blinked. "Seriously? You were stuck. I had the tools. No need to turn it into a transaction." Emily stared at him like he was speaking another language. In her world, no act came without strings. No kindness without expectation. Lily called out from the porch, waving a paper in her hand. "Miss Emily, I made this for you." Emily walked over and accepted the crayon masterpiece, herself on a flying motorcycle smiling, with stars in the sky. It said, "Everyone needs magic." She swallowed a lump in her throat. Daniel leaned against the porch rail. "You got somewhere to be?" She hesitated. The truth was, she didn't. She had booked a villa upstate to be alone with her thoughts after her engagement imploded, and her board tried to twist her heartbreak into PR. But that place now felt sterile. This place smelled like cinnamon and pine and old floorboards. "I was going to head out today," she said slowly, "but I don't have to." Daniel gave a quiet nod. "You're welcome here. Lily sure wouldn't mind." Emily looked at the open barn, the fields behind the house, the tire swing twisting gently in the wind. For a moment, she saw something different, a version of life where no one cared about stocks or IPOs, just weather and laughter and fixing what's broken. She pulled her phone out, looked at it again. A flood of missed calls. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She turned it off. Daniel noticed but said nothing. Instead, he motioned toward the pasture. "You ever ridden in a truck with no power steering and a squeaky window crank?" Emily smiled faintly. "Sounds like a thrill ride." They spent the afternoon delivering a refurbished generator to an elderly neighbor whose power had gone out. Emily sat in the passenger seat of Daniel's rusted Ford, wind tousling her hair through the cracked window. Lily sat in the back, singing softly to herself. Emily glanced at the rearview mirror and saw her own smile forming, unforced. Later that evening, after dinner and dishes, they sat on the porch beneath a sky peppered with stars. Lily fell asleep in Daniel's lap, and Emily leaned back in a rocking chair sipping cider. Daniel looked over at her. "You don't talk much about where you're from." Emily took a breath. "I built something big, bigger than I could handle. I lost sight of what mattered." He didn't ask what she meant, just nodded slowly. "You're not the only one trying to remember who you are," he said. In that quiet, starlit space, something passed between them, muted and real. Not fireworks, not a fairy tale. Just two people sitting beside the soft hum of possibility. By the third morning, Emily felt the farmhouse breathing with her. The floor creaked a certain way in the hallway. The kitchen faucet dripped once every 20 seconds. A mourning dove nested on the window ledge. These tiny details carved themselves into her senses like memories she never actually lived. Daniel was already outside when she woke, feeding the chickens. Through the window, she watched him. Sleeves rolled, hands rough, movements patient. There was something calming about his rhythm, a steadiness that had nothing to prove. Lily greeted her with a sleepy smile and a flower crown she made from dandelions. "You can be queen of the porch today," she said. Emily accepted it like a sacred crown, placing it gently atop her still messy hair. "What does the queen do?" "She makes rules, like no phones allowed." Emily laughed, nodding solemnly. "Sounds perfect." Later that morning, Daniel asked if she wanted to help paint the old fence along the west pasture. Emily looked down at her polished nails, shrugged, and said, "Why not?" They worked side by side, their brush strokes sometimes synchronized, other times chaotically crossing. White paint flecked her arms, her hair, even her jeans. She didn't care. "I used to paint my office white every time I felt stuck," she said without looking up. "Fresh start, clean slate." Daniel glanced over. "This fence has been the same since my dad built it. He said if something still stands, you don't tear it down. You tend to it." Emily paused, brush midair, absorbing that. "That's something." He shrugged. "It stuck with me." By the time the sun reached its peak, they'd painted halfway down the pasture. They sat in the grass, drinking lemonade, sweat glistening on their foreheads. Lily ran over with a tin box. "Treasure hunt time," she declared. Emily raised an eyebrow. "What kind of treasure?" "Secrets," Lily whispered, grinning. Inside were old photos, faded trinkets, a seashell, and a tiny carved wooden bird. Lily placed the bird in Emily's hand. "I keep that when I feel scared. You can borrow it." Emily's throat tightened. "Thank you, sweetheart." They all sat there, 3 dots on a vast canvas of green. It was imperfect. It was beautiful. That evening, Daniel grilled dinner behind the house while Lily made menus from construction paper. Emily helped prepare potato salad, moving comfortably in a borrowed apron, barefoot on the cool tile. "Do you ever miss it?" Daniel asked as they set the table outside under the string lights. Emily hesitated. "Sometimes. I miss the purpose, the impact, but not the pressure, not the loneliness." Daniel nodded, lighting a candle. Loneliness can sneak into the busiest rooms. They ate under the stars again, laughter punctuating their meal. Lily performed a menu reading in a theatrical voice. Emily clapped like it was Broadway. Later, as they cleaned up, a car pulled into the gravel driveway. The moment shattered like glass underfoot. Emily stiffened, recognizing the sleek black sedan instantly. She hadn't told anyone where she was. The door opened, and a tall man in a suit stepped out, sunglasses reflecting the porch lights. "Miss Carter," he said, voice clipped. "Your board has been trying to reach you. There's an emergency at the foundation." Daniel looked from the stranger to Emily. She exhaled slowly. "I turned my phone off. I needed time." The man held out a tablet. "It's urgent. We've had a breach in donor accounts. The media's circling. They're demanding a statement." Emily's jaw tightened. She could feel the armor sliding back into place, the careful voice, the executive spine. "I'll take it in the barn," she said. "Give me 10 minutes." Inside, the warmth of the day faded quickly. Daniel stood still, watching her cross the lawn with the stranger. Lily tugged at his hand. Is she in trouble? Daniel didn't answer. He watched the barn door shut behind her and felt something shift. He had invited a stranger in, but now he wondered if she had ever truly taken off her mask, or just worn a softer one. Inside the barn, Emily stood with the screen glowing in her face, trying to explain away missing data, restore investor confidence, and promise the press she'd return to New York. But her voice cracked halfway through. She looked out the small window toward the house. Daniel's silhouette, Lily's hand in his. "I need more time," she said finally. "We need leadership," her assistant replied coldly. Emily handed back the tablet. "Then maybe you need a different leader." She stepped outside into the cooling air, her hands trembling. Daniel stood on the steps, his eyes unreadable. "You okay?" he asked. "I should go," she said. "I brought something into your life that doesn't belong here." "You don't get to decide that alone," he replied. Emily looked away. "This place, it felt real, but it's not mine. I was just passing through." She turned and walked toward the guest room, the dandelion crown slipping from her head and landing softly in the grass. Daniel bent to pick it up, fingers tightening around the petals. He didn't call after her. Not yet. Emily didn't sleep that night. She lay in the guest room staring at the wooden ceiling, watching moonlight stretch across the floorboards like a quiet tide. The silence was thick, and for the first time in days, she felt completely alone again. Morning came with a soft knock. It was Lily, holding a tray with toast and tea. "You didn't come to breakfast," she said, eyes wide with worry. Emily sat up, trying to smile. "I had a lot on my mind." Lily nodded solemnly and placed the tray down. "Daddy's in the field. He didn't eat much either." Emily stood at the window for a long time after Lily left, watching Daniel's distant figure as he moved slowly between rows of tall grass. He hadn't come to speak to her, and she couldn't blame him. The truth had changed the air between them, or maybe it had only revealed the space that was always there. By mid-afternoon, Emily stepped out, unsure what she hoped to find. The barn was empty. The kitchen, too. She found Daniel fixing the irrigation pipe behind the shed, his sleeves wet and his face turned away. "I wanted to say, 'I'm sorry,'" she said quietly. He didn't look up. "For what?" "For not telling you who I was. For making this place into something it wasn't." Daniel finally stood, wiping his hands. "You didn't make it into anything. You were just part of it. Until you weren't." The words hit her harder than she expected. "I didn't mean to lie. I just—" She exhaled. "For once, I wanted someone to see me and not what I represent." Daniel met her gaze now. "You wanted something real." "Yes." "Then you should have started with the truth." They stood in silence, birds calling softly overhead. Emily took a step back, her throat tight. "I'll be leaving tomorrow," she said. Daniel only nodded. That evening, Lily asked if Emily would help her pack her memory box. She was preparing for a school project and wanted to fill it with meaningful things. Emily sat on the floor beside her, watching the little girl place trinkets inside: a painted rock, a piece of sky blue ribbon, a drawing of the farmhouse. Then Lily hesitated. She picked up a Polaroid picture of the three of them at the fence, taken just 2 days before. "Should I keep this?" she asked. Emily felt her eyes sting. "That's up to you." Lily looked at her for a long time. "Do you have to leave?" "I think so." "Even if I want you to stay?" Emily gathered her gently into her arms. Sometimes people leave not because they want to, but because they don't know how to stay. Lily didn't understand all the words, but she held on tighter anyway. Later, as Emily walked past Daniel's open office door, she paused. A photograph on the shelf caught her eye. Daniel and a woman holding a baby in front of the barn. The woman's eyes were joyful, her hand on his shoulder. She loved that photo, Daniel said from behind her. Emily turned, surprised. My wife, Amanda. She died 4 years ago. Car accident. I'm sorry. He nodded. I didn't think I'd let anyone in again. Then you showed up with oil on your hands and a motorbike like a mystery novel. Emily smiled faintly. And now, you know the ending. Daniel stepped closer. I don't think I do. Not yet. But he didn't touch her. He just stood beside her in the quiet. That night, Emily packed. She folded her clothes neatly, lined up her heels, tucked away the necklace she hadn't worn once since arriving. Everything fit back into the suitcase like it had been waiting all along. But her heart didn't fit the same. Before bed, Lily slipped a folded note under her door. It read, for the Queen of the Porch, in case she forgets where her kingdom is. Emily sat down hard on the bed, the note trembling in her fingers. In the early morning light, she wheeled her suitcase to the porch. The sun hadn't yet cleared the trees, and dew still glistened on the grass. Daniel stood leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. Car's coming to pick me up, she said. He nodded. I figured. She hesitated. Will you tell Lily goodbye for me? No, Daniel said. You should do that yourself. She nodded, blinking fast. Okay. When Lily emerged, still in her pajamas, she ran straight into Emily's arms. Will you come back someday? Emily kissed her forehead. If I'm lucky. Lily handed her the small carved wooden bird. For when you're scared again. Emily closed her fingers around it. I'll keep it safe. As the town car pulled up, Emily turned one last time. I hope you find peace, Daniel. He held her gaze. I hope you find something worth staying for. She climbed into the car. The door shut with a soft thud. As they pulled away down the gravel road, Emily looked back through the rear window. Daniel and Lily stood framed in golden light, still, watching, not holding her back, but not letting her go unnoticed either. The kingdom she never knew she needed, disappearing into the morning mist. The city welcomed her with its usual noise and indifference. Glass towers scraped the sky, and streetlights blinked like artificial stars. Emily sat in the back seat of the luxury car as it wove through traffic, her reflection staring back at her from the tinted window. She looked polished again, distant, empty. Her penthouse was exactly as she'd left it, immaculate, impersonal, and quiet. No muddy boots by the door, no humming of cartoon music from another room, no scent of lavender soap lingering on old wood. She stood in her walk-in closet, surrounded by designer gowns and untouched heels, and felt suddenly ridiculous. None of it fit anymore. Not after the way Lily held her, not after Daniel looked at her like she was more than a title. Over the next few days, Emily buried herself in work. Boardrooms, emails, conferences. She smiled, nodded, answered questions like a machine. Her assistant, Harper, noticed the difference. You okay? Harper asked gently as they prepared for a press event. Emily straightened her blazer. Fine. You're quieter. Just thinking. Harper hesitated. It's not about the merger, is it? Emily's silence was answer enough. After the event, she stood alone on a rooftop balcony, champagne untouched, city lights stretching endlessly below. She could buy anything in view, but not the quiet of that porch. Not the way Lily called her the Queen of the Porch. Not Daniel's steady presence fixing the world with his hands when she'd spent so long controlling it with a signature. Later that week, Emily met with her board. The final acquisition papers were ready, signatures just waiting. But as she sat in that high-rise glass room with lawyers and investors smiling, she stared at the pen and couldn't move. Ms. Carter, someone prompted. Her eyes swept the room. These people didn't know her. Not really. And more painfully, she realized she didn't know herself anymore either. She stood slowly. "I'm not signing this." Murmurs rippled. Her legal advisor leaned forward. "Emily, this is the culmination of 2 years of work." "I know," she said quietly, "but if I sign this, I lose something I just found." She walked out without waiting for their reaction. That evening, back in her penthouse, she unpacked the memory box Lily had given her. She'd slipped it into her bag last minute. Inside, she found the photo of the three of them, the blue ribbon and the wooden bird. And at the very bottom, folded small, was a hand-drawn map. It was scrawled in crayon, labeled, "To the Kingdom." It showed the porch, the barn, Lily's swing, and a winding path marked with hearts leading to a tiny stick figure labeled Queen. Emily laughed, a tear sliding down her cheek. She held the map to her chest, heart thudding. That night, she didn't sleep. She stood by the window watching the stars get buried under city haze, her reflection slowly dissolving until all that remained was the ache. In the morning, she called Harper. "I need time away," she said. "No meetings. No press. Just space." Harper didn't question her. "Take whatever you need." By noon, Emily was in her car, hair pulled into a loose braid, no makeup, no jewelry. She left her phone behind. The road out of the city felt like breathing for the first time. As trees replaced buildings and traffic gave way to winding country roads, she felt the tightness in her chest begin to loosen. Hours passed. When she turned onto the familiar gravel road leading to Daniel's farm, the sun was dipping behind the hills. The farmhouse looked the same, but she felt entirely different. She parked at the edge of the field and stepped out quietly, unsure if she had the right to be there anymore. The porch was empty, the windows lit warm, but no footsteps came. No Lily's laughter, no Daniel's voice. Then she saw her. Lily was sitting on the porch swing, legs curled beneath her, a book in her lap. She looked up, and her eyes widened. "Emily!" she shouted, tumbling off the swing and running barefoot across the grass. Emily dropped to her knees just in time to catch her. "You came back," Lily whispered against her shoulder. "I had to," Emily said. "My heart stayed here even when I didn't." From the porch, Daniel appeared. He stood still, arms crossed, watching them. Emily rose slowly, heart pounding. "I'm not here to ask for anything," she said. "I just needed to see you both, to say that I left too soon, and that the only thing real in my life is right here." Daniel didn't speak for a long time. Then he walked down the steps and stood in front of her. "I wasn't sure you'd come back," he said. "I wasn't sure I could," she admitted. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, the necklace she'd left behind. "You forgot this." Emily looked at the delicate silver chain, then back at him. "No," she said softly. "I think I left it on purpose." The sun had dipped below the hills, but the warmth lingered in the air, wrapping around them like a silent promise. Daniel held the necklace in his palm, the silver catching the last gold rays. Emily stood before him, breath uneven, heart pounding so loud she could hear nothing else. Lily, unaware of the tension between them, tugged at Emily's hand. "Come on, let's go sit on the porch swing. You can be queen again." Emily laughed gently, letting Lily lead her by the fingers. They sat together, the swing creaking beneath them, and Daniel followed slowly. He leaned on the porch post, arms folded, eyes shadowed by the brim of his cap. "I didn't come back expecting anything," Emily said softly. "But I couldn't stay away. Not after you gave me something I never knew I needed." Daniel looked at her quiet. "And what was that?" She met his gaze. "A place where I wasn't Carter Industries, where I wasn't someone people chased for contracts or features. You and Lily. You just saw me." The silence between them was rich, full. Wind rustled the trees. Crickets began their quiet song. Daniel lowered himself onto the swing's edge beside them. "You scared me," he said. "When people leave, it's hard not to believe they're gone for good." "I know," Emily said. "That's why I stayed away. I thought maybe it'd be easier to forget me if I disappeared fast." Lily looked between them, her small brow furrowed. "I didn't want to forget you." Emily turned to her and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I didn't want to forget either." Daniel took a slow breath. "So, what now?" Emily swallowed. "I resigned from the board. I handed over the company to people who care about numbers more than hearts. I've been doing that for too long. I don't know exactly what I'll do next, but I do know I want to build something real. With my hands. With my heart." She looked at him. "With the two of you, if you'll let me." Daniel was silent for a long time. Then he looked down at the necklace again and placed it gently into her hand. "You never needed this to belong here," he said, "but it's yours, if you still want it." Tears filled her eyes. "I do." Lily beamed. "Does that mean you're staying?" Emily looked at Daniel, her voice trembling. "If I stay, will I be intruding?" Daniel reached out and took her hand. "You'd be coming home." That night they didn't talk much more. The three of them sat on the porch as the stars came out one by one. Emily's head rested on Daniel's shoulder. Lily fell asleep curled between them. And for the first time in her life, Emily didn't feel like she was missing anything. The next morning was bright and cool, the scent of dew still clinging to the air. Emily woke to the sound of birds and the smell of coffee. She padded barefoot into the kitchen to find Daniel cooking breakfast, humming softly, while Lily colored on the floor. "Morning," Daniel said, smiling at her. "Hope you like eggs." She laughed. "Anything not catered and cold is a treat." They spent the day rebuilding a section of the fence together. Emily, in jeans and an old flannel shirt borrowed from Daniel, found joy in the simplest movements. Dirt under her nails, laughter echoing across the field, Lily cheering when a post went in straight. Weeks passed, then a month. Emily didn't leave. She helped Daniel on the farm. She read with Lily every night. And slowly she began something new, a little roadside cafe in the nearby town. A place where people could come and sit and just be. No suits, no contracts, just warmth. She named it the Queen's Porch. Locals loved it, and Daniel, seeing her shine in that world she'd built from scratch, found himself falling all over again. One evening, as they closed up the cafe together, Daniel stepped outside and waited by her truck. She joined him under the soft glow of the porch light, wiping her hands on her apron. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you," he said, "and I sure didn't think she'd fall in love with me." Emily looked up, breath catching. "You sure?" she whispered. He nodded. "I'm sure." She smiled, then slowly pulled something from her pocket. It was the bird Lily had carved, the one Daniel had helped her make. Its wings were now painted silver. "She said it means new beginnings," Emily said. Daniel leaned forward, brushing her cheek with his thumb. "Then maybe it's time we started ours." They kissed under the soft night sky, two lives that had come from different worlds, finally at peace in one. And just behind them, inside the cafe window, a small sign hung on the wall above the counter. It read, "Kindness fixes more than just broken engines."